Donald Trump's lying again, and we caught it on video. No one's able to keep the Epstein scandal alive longer than somebody named Donald Trump because he keeps lying to the American people. He has a tell. When he tells you no, something didn't happen, you know it happened. For instance, I'll cover all this on a hot take. He's lying about the Ghislaine Maxwell pardon that he's considering. She's been given Queen for the Day status, royalty status. She got taken out of prison to go meet in civvies with Todd Blanche, the lawyer for Donald Trump. Pardons are coming, folks, as I've already outlined in prior hot takes, but I've got some new information. In addition to that, Donald Trump is still getting roasted because he's lied about the fact that he got briefed by his Department of Justice. Forget independence in the Department of Justice. His Pam Bondi briefed him in May that his name was all over, that the Epstein Files are lousy with Donald Trump's name. And then he was caught on one of these $10 million taxpayer-funded boondoggles to Scotland to go do a ribbon cutting for a new golf course named after his mother. And he's really there on a taxpayer dime in order to participate in a PGA tournament at that golf course. But it's a great business model. You and I are paying the expenses. He gets, and his companies get the profit. It's fascinating. But he's a liar because on the way to Scotland, a reporter asked him, were you briefed about Epstein? No, I wasn't briefed. Just convert that into yes, I was, because the Wall Street Journal, which is obviously has some sort of insider corroborator, continues to run the stories, even though they're facing a $20 billion defamation case in Miami. What does that tell you? They're not scared of Donald Trump. They've got an insider that's helping them with the case. And they just ran the story that Pam Bondi briefed Donald Trump about the truckload of information that was reviewed and scoured over by the FBI in March. She briefed him in May, and now he's lying. This is the second time that he's lied about that briefing. I'm going to cover this all right here this morning on Legal AF, the YouTube channel. Take a minute, hit the subscribe button, and help us as we continue our march towards 1 million subscribers. Okay. Donald Trump, let's start with the pardon, which is coming. How do I know that? Let me count the ways. David Oscar Marcus, a lawyer down in Miami, is best friends with Todd Blanche. We know that because he appeared on a podcast about a year ago that I caught, in which they were giggling like schoolgirls. And now David Oscar Marcus, who's also best friends with Alan Dershowitz, who's part of the Epstein scandal, got retained by Ghislaine Maxwell to work on her pardon and to work on her appeal because she was convicted for 20 years in front of a 9-0 jury in New York for being a co-conspirator in the pedophile raping of girls crimes of Epstein. She's been working a pardon ever since. Donald Trump is salivating because he sees that she can exonerate him and say he wasn't involved. Even though we know there's a quote-unquote truckload of documents, according to the Wall Street Journal, that Pam Bondi had Kash Patel, the FBI director, review and then briefed Donald Trump about it. So on the pardons, you see the beauty of this. Donald Trump puts his former criminal defense lawyer, personal lawyer, number 2 in the Department of Justice, Todd Blanche, he puts him on it. Todd Blanche calls David Marcus, who's a friend of his, who's representing Ghislaine Maxwell. Marcus makes a proffer, which is a representation to Blanche of what his client is going to say. She's not taking the Fifth Amendment. She's singing like a canary. She's under pressure. She doesn't want to die at 80 in prison. She will say anything to get out of prison. And so she's going to say, obviously, that Donald Trump was not involved, even though the files obviously say otherwise, because Pam Bondi briefed Donald Trump on it. Follow? So not one day, not 2 days, there's not a deposition, but there is an interview by Todd Blanche of Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, I thought it was going to happen because I've been involved in cases where prisoners, clients, former clients, witnesses who are in prison have to give a statement or an interview. It's usually done when they're wearing a jumpsuit and they're in the federal detention center. In this case, she's assigned someplace in Florida. But no. She was brought out like Queen for the Day and brought to a separate private office on our taxpayer dime to go meet with Todd Blanche and David Oscar Marcus, her lawyer. Here's a clip. All right. So they're treating her with kid gloves, right? Because she's going to have them eating out of the palm of her hand based on what she's going to say. And it's already compromised. It's already part of the conspiracy cover-up. You can't trust a word Ghislaine Maxwell says. Donald Trump says when he's interviewed, well, I can't talk about the pardon process. I haven't thought about it. Lie. Remember the tell for Donald Trump. When he says he hasn't thought about something, when he says he hasn't been briefed about something, you know he has. Here's the clip of him saying, I haven't thought about clemency or a pardon. I could do it. But, right now the Department of Justice is dealing with that issue. It's very sensitive times. Let's play the clip.
Pardon or commutation for Ghislaine Maxwell
It's something I haven't thought about. It's really something.
Recommended.
It's something I'm allowed to do it, but it's something I have not thought about.
But you wouldn't rule it.
Okay, so you have that clip. So where is this going? We know where it's going. Donald Trump, every time he tries to kill the Epstein story and his involvement in it, it just gets bigger and bigger. He's going to start tamping it down by giving Ghislaine Maxwell in return for her clearing him, exonerating him, at least enough for the press and the media, not named Midas Touch and Legal AF. That's the quid pro quo. That's the trade we're watching in slow motion, but happening. So let's now turn to his name, Trump's name, being lousy all over the Epstein Files, along with a lot of other people. I don't know if Bill Clinton's in there, but there's 20 or 30 or 40 men in those files. That's the quote unquote client list. Could be. How do we know? Because there's many of the 1,000. I don't ever want to lose sight of this. It's not just Epstein and Trump. There are 1,000 or more girls, young women who were sexually abused and raped by Epstein. I don't know who else was involved. That's why we want to see what Pam Bondi called the truckload of documents that were scoured by the FBI looking for Donald Trump's name and found it when she briefed him. Because those 1,000 victims have lawyers. We know what their statements are from the lawyers. We know who's in the files from the lawyers. It's not just Prince Andrew, right? But there are real victims here that get lost in this discussion, thousands of them. Virginia Joffrey, who was the first person to come out and gave a documentary suit and all this against Donald Trump, Prince Andrew, and the rest, she committed suicide in April. These women, these girls who are now women in their 30s and 40s and 50s are still suffering. Donald Trump doesn't care about them. Donald Trump doesn't care about them. He cares about keeping transgender people out of sports to protect girls and women's sports. He doesn't care about the victims of somebody that he ran around with, not for a day, not for an hour, not for a summer, not for a season, but for 15 years, named Jeffrey Epstein, who was about as close to Donald Trump as any. I don't think anybody can name another personal friend that was as close to Donald Trump than Jeffrey Epstein. Go ahead, name it. Who? Who's as close to him in his history than Jeffrey Epstein? Nobody. So now you turn to the lies about the briefing. Wall Street Journal, in direct response to Donald Trump's $20 billion lawsuit against him for defamation, for running an article on the front page about a scrapbook, leather-bound scrapbook birthday card to Jeffrey Epstein containing a obscene sketch handmade birthday card from Donald Trump, which suggests that he knows that there were secrets in Jeffrey Epstein's life. After Donald Trump sued, they ran another story day before yesterday. The story is that Pam Bondi briefed Donald Trump in May after learning in March about all the times that Donald Trump's name's in the Epstein files. There's also reporting that there's insiders who were in the Oval Office as Donald Trump lost it and said they're trying to F me because they're going to find funny business, whatever that means, with Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein. Talking about raping of girls, I can't imagine what funny business means. And so Donald Trump was asked before the story broke, about a week and a half ago, he was asked the first time, were you briefed? Were you told your name is in the files? No. Run the clip.
Did she tell you at all that your name appeared in the files?
She's given us just a very quick briefing, And in terms of the credibility of the different things that they've seen.
Okay. Wall Street Journal does their job as journalists, finds out that's a lie, runs the story, which is also an FU to Donald Trump about the defamation case. We stand by the rigor of our reporting, was their quote. Donald Trump's asked again today on the way to Scotland, burning through $10 million of our money, $400 million on golf before his administration is done. And he's asked again about, were you briefed? Look at the stammering. Look at the staring at the shoes, Snickers moment. No, I don't. No, I wasn't briefed. Run the clip.
No, I was never briefed. No.
It's a lie. No other thing to call it. It is a lie. And so don't be surprised when you come back to Legal AF and I tell you there's been a pardon of Maxwell after, lo and behold, they found the evidence. She's going to exonerate Donald Trump. Announced through Todd Blanche, worked on by his buddy David Oscar Marcus, who is a buddy of Alan Dershowitz, right? And this is Donald Trump's beginning attempt to try to shove Pandora back in the box about Epstein. And don't be surprised when you come back to Legal AF and I tell you that there's another Wall Street Journal article that proves that Donald Trump was informed about, gave the direction to go look for my name in the files, was told about the name in the files, and nobody's going to rest until those files are released. Even the House Oversight Committee is about to issue a subpoena for the truckload of documents because three Republicans joined the Democrats on the Oversight Committee to try to force the chairman of the Oversight Committee, Comer, to issue the subpoena. We'll follow it all right here. Hit the free subscribe button. I'm Michael Popok. Until my next report. I'm Michael Popok, and I got some big news for our audience. Most of you know me as the co-founder of Midas Touch's Legal AF and the Legal AF YouTube channel, or as a 35-year national trial lawyer. Now, building on what we started together on Legal AF, I've launched a new law firm, the Popok Firm, dedicated to obtaining justice through compassionate and zealous legal representation. At the Popok Firm, we are focused on obtaining justice for those who have been injured or damaged by a life-altering event by securing the highest dollar recoveries. I've been tirelessly fighting for justice for the last 35 years, so my own law firm organically building on my Legal AF work just feels right. And I've handpicked a team of top-tier trial fighters and settlement experts throughout all 50 states known as big auto injury attorneys who have the know-how to beat heartless insurance companies, corporations, government entities, and their attorneys. Big Auto's attorneys working with my firm are rock stars in their respective states and collectively responsible for billions of dollars in recoveries. So if you or a loved one have been on the wrong side of a catastrophic auto, motor vehicle, rideshare, or truck accident, suffered a personal injury, or been the victim of medical malpractice, employment harassment or discrimination, or suffered a violation of your civil and constitutional rights, then contact the Popok Firm today at 1-877-POPOK-AF or by visiting my website at www.thepopokfirm.com and fill out a free case evaluation form. And if we determine that you have a case and you sign with us, we don't get paid unless you do. The Popok Firm, fighting for your justice every step of the way.